Scanning for audio.
Welcome to the Tin Dog Podcast. Before I begin, I must apologise for the noise you can hear. That spinning noise you may be able to hear in the background is Anthony Ainley and Roger Delgado spinning in their graves. This, of course, has been harnessed to power the entirety of Gallifrey Base, which I'm assured has exploded. More of those things later. This time covering, well, Capaldi Year 1, Episode 11, Dark Water. That's the series finale, part 1. Now, as I record this, I've seen Dark Water 3 times, and it's, well, a week before the finale actually comes upon us. At the end of this story, there was no next time trailer, which is absolutely fine. Except last time, at the end of, the one with the forest, there was a next time trailer. And then that next time trailer, we saw various members of UNIT. We saw St. Paul's Cathedral opening like a flower and Cybermen flying up into the sky. We saw Cybermen. We saw spoilers not just for the episode we've just seen, but more spoilers for the episode to come. Did they, perhaps, show completely the wrong coming soon trailer last time? An argument can be made for that. An argument can be made for them, well, showing it just badly. Editing the whole thing. Now, there is a few things we need to discuss. We really do need to talk about this. If you'd like to help the Tin Dog Podcast to keep running, why not buy one of our badges, available by clicking the link or visiting eBay and typing in Tin Dog Podcast. To business. Let's discuss this in order, let's discuss this calmly, and let's discuss some points. First off, the whole thing opens with the death of Danny, and I, for one, punched the air. Yes, I knew he wasn't going to stay dead. We've been hanging around this storyline long enough to know what's coming. But for a second, for a moment, Mr. Pink was no longer with us, and I did a sigh and a smile, because let's face it, the guy's been random at best and badly written at worst. Nothing against the actor whatsoever. I'm sure he's a very well thought out and extremely talented young man. The BBC does not hire idiots without talent. Oh no. But Mr. Pink, not been my favourite part of this series at all. So, Clara decides to threaten the Doctor in what I can only describe as an oddly edited section. It couldn't work out from my viewing whether it was flashbacks, flash forwards or not. Why was the Doctor lying on the ground? Why was he then standing up? Why was he not? Now, I know the director of this, and God bless her, she was very, very good given what she was given, was the person responsible for Tank Girl. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with Tank Girl. Bear with me, when I first saw the film, I was an enormous fan of Tank Girl the comic. Tank Girl the comic rocks. It's basically just fantastic. And if you've been paying attention, you'll know that in my heart of hearts, I am, of course, an animator. Now, Tank Girl the movie comes along. It's a perfectly good, in fact, it's a truly excellent movie. Now, when SFX magazine first came about, I entered one of the competitions and won Tank Girl the movie as part of the DVD giveaway. I'd just been for an interview for a job, which I may or may not have got, and on the way back on the train I was phoned from SFX asking me if I'd even received the prize DVD, and I informed them that I hadn't, and they'd get one in the post as soon as possible. Not important. What is important is at the time I didn't like Tank Girl the movie because it wasn't Tank Girl the animated movie, which is of course what I'd want. Now, years later I came back to watching the DVD with fresh eyes, truly enjoyed the movie, saw it for what it was. Yes, there is a moment when it all goes animated halfway through, and that's the part where my heart soars and goes, this is what we should have got. But no, Tank Girl itself, the film, seen alone without its superior baggage, is a damn fine piece of filmmaking, and anyone who says otherwise, well, I'll bite them on their ankles. So, this is the same director. She's also done some sterling work, well, on Elm Street, dealing with dreams. This person knows how to shoot this sort of thing. And, given the nature of dreams in this story, well, we're on to a winner. So, I did my punch the year moment, and then we got, well, the depressed Clara deciding to throw away the keys. Now, there's a couple of things wrong with this. So, she gets the Doctor to travel to Mount Doom, where they can throw the ring into, well, you know what I'm saying, where they can throw the nice set of 7 keys away. Yes, we all saw that he had a copy of the key hidden inside the time traveller's wife. River song, hey, what are we talking about? And, well, there's a few things wrong. I've got a list of 4, which we can come back to. Number A. The spare key can be found under the letter P, according to the 1996 TV movie. Of course, the TARDIS has regenerated several times and been battered to hell, so there's no way of going on about that. There's probably a spare key in his boot, as seen, well, with Pertwee, and this Doctor's got so many other things in common with the Third Doctor, he might as well have a key in there. C. As with the 11th Doctor, he may, of course, have a key under his wig. D. And this is, of course, the single most important bit, because it was created by Moffat. The Doctor can open the TARDIS with a click of his fingers, kind of distracting from the whole burning all of the keys business. And then, of course, you find out it was all a dream. It was all a dream agenda. Well, we can kind of live with that. So she's trying to suss him out. Now, again, if you've been paying attention, you'll know that I wrote the play Blue Box Messiah. In Blue Box Messiah, we deal with the concept of Doctor Who dealing with religion. It's a comedy. Bear with me. If you've seen it, you enjoyed it enormously and have emailed me to tell me these things. But that's not important. What is important is that when I was watching this story, I was beginning to get that sinking feeling that a rewrite of the play may be on the cards. Overall, although Doctor Who has dealt with some spiritual aspects, I'm sure that Luke will be able to fill me in much more depth than I'm about to go on. But the basic view of Doctor Who and religion, from my slightly aesthetic point, is that in Doctor Who, most gods are fake aliens pretending to be gods or computers. And most religions are just an attempt at getting, well, power. The Doctor saying that he'd always meant to track down the afterlife, well, I'm not saying that the show has an atheist agenda.
You asked me what we're going to do. I told you. We're going to hell. Or wherever it is that people go when they die, if there is anywhere. Whatever it is, we're going to go there and we're going to find Danny. And if it is in any way possible, we're going to bring him home. Almost every culture in the universe has some concept of an afterlife. I always meant to have a look around, see if I could find one.
But the show's got an atheist agenda, or at least historically it has. Here I can see it shifting uncomfortably on its stool while it tries to work out how to do this storyline. Couple of things before I go any further. Did you think that this episode perhaps should have had a warning at the beginning? Imagine that, say, you're a child and your parents or your grandparents had died recently and they'd been cremated. Yeah, you can see where I'm going. They couldn't really say if you've been affected by this story, because then, of course, yes, how are you going to be affected? Except this is the sort of stuff that gets in the head of children, much more than, say, I don't know, invisible space chickens. Thank you, Vincent. So, getting back to this show's invisible atheist agenda. The Doctor has decided to track down to see what's happened. The guy is quite clearly using Clara as an excuse to show her that A, there is no afterlife, and B, he's gone. The fact that the TARDIS uses, and I'll come talk about the psychic circuits in a moment, and says, yes, you'll meet him again at this point. You do feel that the Doctor's playing a game, almost childishly trying to get revenge on Clara for how she's just been with him. Yes, of course, his redeeming moment where he was like, yes, of course, I'll never let you down, was the most doctory type thing he's said in this whole series. I can live with that. So, the afterlife, sir? No, sir, it's just a restaurant. Let's go to hell. And then we get a whole Orpheus and Eurydice, Orpheus in the underworld feeling. Except, of course, it's the other way around. Orpheus, being a bloke, descends to hell in order to get Eurydice and rescue him and bring him back, bring her back, bring back Danny Pink. Bring back the Danny... No, leave it there. Yes, it's been done in literature before. We can live with that. Now, getting back to my atheist agenda. The Victorians, i.e. Victorian England, was against cremation. Space and land around London was in short supply, and the technology and indeed the practices of cremation had been around for a while. But it wasn't particularly, popular. The reason? Well, everyone was expecting Judgment Day to happen at any moment. And on Judgment Day, the dead will rise. Now, if you're going to rise from the dead, it's a lot easier to rise from the dead if you've got a body to be in. Expecting Judgment Day means that you're going to come back to life in your physical body. And if your physical body has been, burnt, that's what's going to happen. You won't get to come back as anything other than ashes. So it takes a shift in social feeling, understanding, and indeed church teaching in order to make cremations more popular. That's a bit of history and is largely unimportant. So yes, cremation is up there. Now, while watching this, and trust me, I am just a little bit thick, things like having my wife turn to me and go, "No, trust me, she's wearing different clothes," during the bit where Danny was hit by a car, made me surprised because I thought she'd ran out of the building when he'd been hit by a car, and then I'd gone, "Oh, she's ran there and she's arrived weeks after his dad. She's ran through time." I'm either thick or it wasn't as laid on the line and as obvious as it could have been. But that's just me. Perhaps I'm just, a hack. So, what's happened to Mr. Pink? Let's talk about the 3-word agenda later. He is in what Star Trek fans would like to refer to as a Dyson sphere. That's what it looks like. The inside of an enormous ball, possibly not orbiting a star. The afterlife appears to be just like, a city. A big city that's, round and points towards the centre. It has no circles of hell because it is a circle. Oh, and was it just me, or was the Steve Jobs gag just a little bit, too much? Yes, they may have iPads in the afterlife, which is enough to make anyone think it's hell. But you know what? It's just a bit sad that they had to make that gag. For me, that's what a script editor would really be for. Just to take someone to one side and go, would you mind not doing this? So, things I also got wrong, as well as Clara running and thinking that she'd ran through time, which of course is so much less obvious than she's just standing in the same spot where he got killed. It's the 3 words, "Don't cremate me." Except I saw them as 3 W's, and I was going, what are the 3 words that begin with W? www, I'm thinking World Wide Web. I'm trying to work it out, and it actually took to my second viewing to figure it out, because I am so thick sometimes. Perhaps I was watching it late on. No, I have no excuse, it just doesn't work. Now, there are a handful of things left to talk about, and you know what they are. First off, the Cybermen. Now, step 1. Why are these Cybermen the Cybermen that was last seen in the Neil Gaiman story? Was it A, so that Clara could actually recognise them? B, there's a picture of a Cyberman on the front of the advert for this story, and it's one of the Earthshock Cybermen, which, bizarrely, as it was advertising this story, doesn't appear in this story yet and will be here next week. Why would you use that on the poster when it's not in the story till next week? Please, BBC, sort yourselves out just a touch. So, these are the Cybermen from the 51st century. These are the Cybermen from the future. These are the finally upgraded Cybermen. It would make more sense for Cybermen that are around at this point in history. Yes, I know these things only matter to me and Davy Banks, but you know what? It matters to me and Davy Banks. Unless, of course, they've travelled through time. But to do that, you would need, some sort of character who had time travel technology. I wonder who that would be. There is a general dislike in this family that the psychic circuits in the TARDIS are squidgy. It's just not nice. Yes, a character capable of time travel is the only possible solution. Now, this afterlife, this made-up thing that exists in a sort of portable hard drive mini-matrix of the Time Lords. Quick question. If it's being used by the Cybermen to take consciousness and then put it back into biological bodies which go into Cyberman bodies, why are A, cyborgs from the very first story, from the Victorian era, capable of being taken by Missy and put into this hard drive when they're cyborgs, and their operating system is, well, mechanical, of no use or interest to the Cybermen. People from the distant future battling Daleks, because, let's face it, the Cybermen are taking bodies now, and those bodies would be somewhere else in space and time. You do need them based on Earth for this, but then the afterlife's based on this spinning hard drive which is in the basement of St. Paul's today. Yes, you've got the policeman, and you've got the person who was on the underground train there from now. That's fair enough. You've also got robots from Robot of Sherwood. That's 1,000 years ago, and they're just trying to get to the Promised Land. So whether it's just a Promised Land they're trying to get to and not the one run by Missy, that probably makes much more sense. But it's one of those things in Doctor Who, modern Doctor Who especially, that if you look at too hard, it just makes you go, it doesn't really make sense, does it? But then, of course, that brings us to the thing that made the internet melt. The obvious thing. Yes, Moffat lies. Yes, Moffat said that the Master storyline was done under RTD. And yes, Missy, obviously, is the Master. Female Master. Let's look at the evidence. Under Moffat, he's managed to squirrel the 11th Doctor and turn him into the 13th Doctor and sort out all of the future incarnations of the Doctor that he can put down to himself. He's sorted that one out. Paved the way for the future. He's paved the way for a female actor playing the part of the Doctor. Yep, you can tick that box, Moff. He's single-handedly put his stamp on this era of Doctor Who and indeed the future, providing gateways for other writers and other showrunners in the future to be able to do whatever they want. And you know what? Stop it. Stick with what you're good at. Write good stories. Stop trying to fix the mythos. Stop giving us emergency backup number 9 doctors that mess with everyone's counting. Stop it. We know what we like. We're boring, old-fashioned people. It's not exciting when you have to go, oh, don't forget the Hurt Doctor. No. Just get Paul McGann to play a wounded 8th Doctor and then regenerate him into Eccleston. That would have done me. I'll never let that go. So here we have the way paved for a female Doctor. Well done, Moff. Well done. Yes, bits of the internet don't like it, and bits of the internet don't care. And you know what? I care less about that end of things than I do as to whether she's a good actress or not. Yes, there are whole gender politics. But you know what? If we don't happen to like the fact that the Master is now female, well, does that make us bad people? Does that make us anti-transgender? Does that mean we can be nailed to the mast? Or does it just mean that we go, oh, there were female Time Lords, can we not just have some of them? Because, it was easy enough, wasn't it? Look, she actually says, I was the Time Lord you abandoned, and in my head it was Romana. I was over the moon when it was revealed that Missy was just a robot. Oh, I did a little dance and went, fantastic, it's not something obvious like she's the Master. Yes, I know the Master can be whatever he/she wants to be because she was a snake for 20 minutes in 1996. It didn't really matter and never will. But I don't like to think of, say, Geoffrey Beavers being that person inside this person with that silky snake voice. Yes, I can live with the fact that this person... The thing that annoys me most of all of this is that Alex McQueen, friend of Capaldi, won't get to play the Master against Capaldi because for me he's one of the all-time greats. And in the end, that's what annoys me the most. Because we have someone who's yet another, well, almost literal pantomime villain on the grounds that here we have a dame. Someone who's been a man for most of his lives, now is a woman. Yes, we've got other transgender Time Lords. We've got a female Baruza on one of the Gallifreys, played by Jo Grant, weirdly enough. We've got female Doctors, turning up at least 2 different versions. But you know what? Does it make me a bad person if I kind of wish the Master was a bloke, Romana was a woman, and the Doctor was a man? Well, perhaps it does. Perhaps it doesn't. But Master, Missy, it was just so obvious. Stop being obvious, Moff. You're better than this. And you know what? Next week I hope we find out that he really is better than this. And then we get an even better storyline. Seb was great. Danny was great. Oh, quick question. The child in Danny's, afterlife interview. There are two possible thoughts. One, it's a cyber construct in order to get him to hate himself so that he gets rid of his emotions and decides to be a Cyberman. Version 1. Version 2. They've been harvesting for a very long time, and this child is also one of the harvested people and is in the works to become a Cyberman. Yes, the tombs were fine. The dark water makes absolute no sense. And the guy sticking his hand, he wasn't even wearing a ring to make it vanish. That would have, helped. And I know his watch went, but so what? If you're watching it in SD, you're squinting just to make that out. And best of all, when he stuck his hand in, his wrist went in, and when he took it out, his wrist was dry. Yes, it's super fast drying dark water. Very useful in no way whatsoever. So don't use it in pools. That'll just be silly and it'll ruin your hair. I'm going to go now and probably rant about other things and come back and talk about Doctor Who. So until next time, bear with us. It's a game of two halves. Part 2 will be with us before we know, and then it's the long wait to Christmas via Children in Need. So until next time, be seeing you.
Do you think I care for you so little that betraying me would make a difference?
You've been listening to the Tin Dog Podcast, available on RSS, iTunes, Stitcher, Audio Boom and Tumblr. Doctor Who and its associated works are copyright of the BBC. No infringement is intended. You can contact the show, donate, buy merchandise or find out more about my other projects by visiting the Tin Dog Podcast homepage and clicking on the links. The Tin Dog Podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance.